All right, it's the end of 2025. I didn't do a tier list last year for 2024, but now I'm doing a tier list for every Apple product released in 2025, and I'm going to rank them from S to F tier. This tier list is not made by me, it was made by Basic Apple Guy. Shout out to him. And all of this is just my opinion. You can have a different opinion, but just know that you're wrong. Anyway, let's start off with the first product that came out in the year, which is the iPhone 16e. And, it's kind of rough, but I have to reward this an F tier right off the bat for the year. I think this device was a terrible value. You may remember my video on the main channel that was absolutely just right after the phone came out of me absolutely hating on it. Yeah, it's a terrible value, especially now the iPhone 17 out, which we'll get into that in a second. But yeah, 16e at $600, it's definitely an F tier. Do better with the 17e Apple, and plus it won Marquez's or won in air quotes. It won Marquez's Bust of the Year for 2025 in smartphones. So yeah, F tier for 16e. Next up, right after the 16e, was the iPad Air M3. And this device was pretty, it was a great device, but it is a very minor upgrade because all they upgraded was literally just the M3 chip and they removed the text on the back, and that was it. There was nothing else changed. And the M3 chip came with upgrades like ray tracing and things like that, but it was still a very minor upgrade. And plus, that N3B process node with the M3 chip probably results in more overheating than the M2. So it's a great device still. iPad Air is still a very solid seller in the iPad lineup. It's one of the best selling iPads in the lineup, period. But since this is a minor upgrade, I'm going to give it a C tier. It's not a bad device, it's just very mediocre upgrade. The A16 iPad, on the other hand, is the device that I'm using to record this screen recording right now and to do this tier list. I love this thing because same price, 349. It's faster, that's one part of it, but the thing that really sells it is it's the same price with double the storage, 128 gigs. And you will not find another iPad that is this new that will get this many software updates and will have this amount of storage. You can find this thing frequently for like $280 now, and especially with iPadOS 26, in my opinion, is one of Apple's most underrated devices. But this upgrade in particular was fairly minor, obviously. Both these iPad Air or iPad upgrades in general didn't even change the wallpaper. But either way, I think this device is B tier. People really sleep on this thing. Like, it's a great device. I made many videos that blew up. Basically, every single YouTube short that I've made since this iPad came out was made on this iPad. It's great. I made a video that got 32,000 views, a full length video for that matter, that was edited entirely on this guy. It's a really great device. So A16 iPad B tier, would have been A tier if it was if it had a bit more, but from the rumors that A19 iPad coming in 2026 might be an A tier, maybe S tier, who knows. Anyway, next up, the day after that was the M4 MacBook Air. And I feel like I don't need to explain this one. This is an S tier. This is an S tier. In my opinion, this device was this it was better than the M3, M2 MacBook Air in every way. It was cheaper by $100. It was $100 cheaper than the M3 MacBook Air, same price as the M2. It was much faster. It came in that new sky blue color, which looks pretty good. Not anything too exciting. But the thing is, the really like the discounts that you can get with this MacBook Air, you can find this thing for like $750 now. Like, that is the killer deal. You will not find another laptop on the planet that is a better value than that. So S tier, easy for the M4 MacBook Air. Now we have two Mac Studios, M4 Max and M3 Ultra. Now, the M4 Max Mac Studio, was, long awaited. Mac Studio upgrade in general was very long awaited. The M4 Max, is a pretty big no brainer, in my opinion. If you've been holding out for Mac Studio upgrade, M4 Max, two generations newer than the M2 Max that preceded it. And so M4 Max, Mac Studio, you know, I think I give it a B tier. It's not anything super exciting. It's a pretty expected upgrade. But the thing that was not expected was that M3 Ultra. Now, the M3 Ultra Max Studio, on the face of it, seems like a weird device. We have the M4 Max right next to the M3 Ultra. And the M3 Ultra is more expensive, but it's an Ultra chip. So what makes it an Ultra chip? It's two M3 Maxes connected together, which is marginally faster than one M4 Max right here. So what really sells the M3 Ultra? Why would you want to buy it over the M4 Max? One word: memory. This thing with 512 gigabytes of unified memory absolutely smokes any AI on device task. Like, seriously, this is, in my opinion, the king when it comes to value proposition for on device AI, which, it's a very controversial topic right now given the RAM shortage. But seriously, in my opinion, especially with the recent update in macOS Tahoe with you connecting multiple Thunderbolt 5 Macs, like, it's a very no brainer device, in my opinion, for AI enthusiasts who like to use Macs. And for that, I think it's A tier. Even if you don't use a Mac, AI enthusiast, 512 gigs of unified memory. So it's your VRAM and your main system RAM. Like, is pretty crazy. So yeah, A tier for the M3 Ultra, in my opinion. That might be controversial, but I don't care. A tier for the M3 Ultra. And that's basically all the spring releases. Following the spring release was CarPlay Ultra in May, which is technically still spring, but late spring. CarPlay Ultra was long awaited. We got it announced at Dub 2022 and it finally came out in Aston Martin vehicles in 2025. Very slow rollout. It looks impressive, very impressive. But in my opinion, because of its slow rollout, it would be A tier in my opinion. Because of its slow rollout, I'm gonna give it a B tier. It's a cool concept, but yeah, very slow rollout, and so yeah, A tier, or excuse me, B tier for CarPlay Ultra. Now let's get to Dub 2025. I almost said 2026 because of the 20 OS 26 releases here. Starting with iOS 26. iOS 26, I think, was a great release, all things considered, with Liquid Glass, the Apple Intelligence upgrades, which, Apple Intelligence is a bit of a murky topic, but the upgrades that we did get for Apple Intelligence that did ship on day one this year, surprisingly enough, yeah, the upgrades with the visual intelligence, I really like those. There's many more upgrades like the benefits with liquid glass, like the ability to change your selection in the middle of you tapping something. That's pretty cool. um all that stuff, it's honestly just fun to play around with the liquid glass effects, really. And it's the first time that iOS has felt genuinely brand new in forever. So because of that, iOS 26 is an A tier. It's very buggy, I'll say that, but I think it's a great update overall. So A tier for iOS 26. Next, watchOS. So obviously, alongside Liquid Glass and watchOS, you also get the redesigned workout app, and you also get the workout buddy, which seemed very weird at first. I've used it frequently for running workouts and sometimes walking workouts as well, and it's all right. It's all right. It's it's sort of uncanny, kind of unnecessary. Oh, whoops. But overall, it's kind of, I don't know how to describe it. It's weird. It's weird, but it's not bad in my opinion. It doesn't make a big difference, but it doesn't hurt my workout at all. So other than that, the workout app has been controversial with its very small tap targets. And I have a 40 millimeter watch, so I definitely experienced the worst of it. Um, but overall, I think WatchOS 26 is an all right release, but compared to prior WatchOS releases, like WatchOS 11, I was a big fan of. In terms of the feature updates, stability of WatchOS 11, I did not have a good time with, but uh, overall, I think WatchOS 26 is an all right release. I'm gonna give it B tier for that. Next, uh, I forgot for a second which one we were on. tvOS 26. I have not used it yet. I was planning to use it, but Apple has not released a new Apple TV this year. Thanks for that, lads. Um, the updates for tvOS 26 in and of itself seem fairly minor for the Apple TV platform, but there are some things that were, interesting. Liquid glass, the ability to see through the media controls while you're watching something, thanks to liquid glass, that looks pretty cool. And you also have the new profiles, you have new screensavers, and the Apple Music Sing updates. So it seems like a good update for tvOS, despite me not having an Apple TV. But seeing how, but here's the thing as well: liquid glass is limited to Apple TVs with the A12 or newer because those are the ones with Apple-made GPUs. So overall, tvOS 26 seems like a decent upgrade, but it's a very minor upgrade. So I'm gonna give it a C or B. I'm gonna give it because we didn't get Apple TV hardware. I'm gonna give it C tier. If we were to get Apple TV hardware with Apple Intelligence, it might have gone up to B tier, but you know, it is what it is. Next up, macOS 26, macOS Tahoe 26. macOS Tahoe is, in my opinion, the most controversial update for the Mac in many, many years. Probably the most controversial upgrade, uh, definitely the most controversial update in my opinion this year because of many reasons. Liquid glass, from what I've seen, has been half baked, and a lot of people were celebrating the fact that Alan Dye left Apple because of how much he's quote ruined macOS's design. The stability of macOS Tahoe has been, from everything I've seen, a very, very rough, like one of the worst in modern Apple history. And the thing that I absolutely hate is the removal of Launchpad and they replaced it with Spotlight Search and apps, as they call it, apps, which is just the Apple library from iOS, sort of glorified into macOS. The fact that it's not customizable, you can't put folders in it, it's sorted alphabetically. It's just, it's bad from everything I've seen, and seeing the messy rollout of it. Like I want to update. I want to update because some of the other features seem cool, like the clipboard history and spotlight. That looks very useful. All the shortcuts updates seem useful. Um, but but mm, but seeing everyone's complaints of it being unstable have scared me away. So seeing that, I think Tahoe is a D tier, in my opinion, actually. Like D tier update. It's a very rough rollout from everything I've seen from macOS. So much so that I've had to stay away from it. I'm still in Sequoia on my MacBook Air because of how much I'm afraid of Tahoe. So there's that. Vision OS 26. In my opinion, this is a good update because you had the Jupyter environment, you had the widgets, you had the PSVR 2 controllers, you had a lot of things that in Vision OS 26. You had the sharing of your Vision Pros in the same room together. You had the spatial web. You had a lot of stuff in Vision OS 26. Look to scroll is very big upgrade for Vision OS, even though this is the second Vision OS update that we got next to Vision OS 2. So seeing all these upgrades, I think Vision OS 26 is a B, B or A. Nah, I think it's A. Honestly, it's a good update in my opinion. Actually, nah, A. A. It's a good update. iPadOS 26. This is my favorite of all the iPadOS, or excuse me, all the OS updates this year. iPadOS 26 is what I'm using right now. It's very cool with all the windowing, the menu bars, everything in iPadOS 26. Like I never thought I'd see the day where we get the Mac like traffic light icons in iPadOS. Like that is how cool iPadOS 26 is. So seeing all the upgrades to iPadOS 26, in my opinion, is a strong A tier. Could almost argue S tier. Um, but yeah, A tier for iPadOS 26. If it weren't for stability upgrades, and also the windowing can sometimes be convoluted, but they kind of fixed that in iPadOS 26.2 and 26.1 as well. So it's pretty good. A tier for iPadOS 26. I forgot here. I forgot the Magic Keyboard for the iPad Air. Yeah, this is a fine device. It's cheaper than the old one. It has the function row. It has a similar design to the iPad Pro keyboard. It seems cool. So I think it's a good complement to the iPad Air. But since they also removed the backlight from it, I'm gonna give it C tier. It's a fine upgrade. It's just not it. If you have an existing iPad Air, sure, go ahead and get it. But there are some downgrades, but it's a lot of upgrades there. So yeah. All right, now time for the September releases, and we'll start with AirPods Pro 3. I don't have them, but I've heard mixed things about them. I've heard people complain about the sound quality, but the noise canceling is almost universally praised on. The fit as well with the foam ear tips, or at least the inner in the foam ear tips. Um, all that stuff. The U2 chip in the case for better precision finding. Um, all the upgrades to AirPods Pro 3. From what I've seen, they seem decent. And I'll give them A tier. I think AirPods Pro 3 seem pretty solid. So yeah, A tier for AirPods Pro 3. Next up, you have the Apple Watches, and we'll start with the Series 11. In my opinion, this is a very minor upgrade because all we got really was the improved battery life and the slightly more scratch resistant display on the aluminum models because the titanium models have sapphire. So seeing the improvements there and seeing that half of the features that were marketed with the Series 11 were features that are coming to older models, like the sleep score, the hypertension notifications, all that stuff is available on the older models. And on top of that, this is the first year where the Apple Watch didn't even upgrade the SIP, the system and package. It still uses the S10 SIP from the Series 10. So seeing that, it is almost F tier. It is almost F tier, but it's do I give it F tier or D tier? It's like right in the middle. If I had an E tier, I think I'd give it to it. Um, but uh, seeing that it has battery life improvement, which is long awaited for the Apple Watch, I'm gonna give it D tier, but it's almost F tier. If it weren't for the battery life improvement, it definitely would have been F tier. So there's that. SE3 though, on the other hand, the SE3 added the always on display. It added the S10 SIP. Uh, it doesn't have the ultra wideband chip, which is unfortunate. But the always on display in and of itself was long waited for the SE, long overdue as well. Fast charging, double tap, thanks to that S10 SIP, on device Siri, which is something I like that's something that tempted me to upgrade because Siri on the older Apple Watches that is not on device is terrible, like absolutely terrible. And so having on device Siri is really cool. Seeing all that stuff, I think SE3 is B tier. It's a great update if you have an older Apple Watch. It's just don't like the fact that they kept the older display on it or the older display size. They had the always on, which is cool, but the older display size with the thick bezels, I don't like that. So B tier for the SE3. Then the Ultra 3 added satellite connectivity, the 42-hour battery life, the 3D printed case. Pretty good watch overall. So the Ultra 3, I think, is also a B tier. Again, minor upgrade. If you had Ultra 2, you probably don't need to upgrade. From Ultra 1, maybe, but overall, B tier for the Ultra 3. It's decent. So there's that. Now, time for the creme de la creme, the iPhone 17. Feel like I don't need to explain this. This is an easy S tier. The regular iPhone 17 with its ProMotion display, the always on display, the larger 6.3-inch display. Display got so many upgrades, 3000 nits, the anti-reflective coating. Um, you have the 48 megapixel ultra wide camera. You have the A19 chip, you better battery life, 40-watt fast charging, and to add on top of that, they stuck the landing 799, the same price as the 16, but with double the storage, 256 gigs. There is no better value $800 phone that's globally available than the iPhone 17. There's a reason why it won Marquez's Phone of the Year for 2025. It's a great device. iPhone 17, I don't think I even needed to explain it. It's S tier. So there's that. iPhone Air. This one's a tough one. This one's very tough because I love the design. The iPhone Air is probably my favorite iPhone design of all time. But to get to that design, there was a lot of compromises. You only have one camera. You lose out on a speaker. It's the only iPhone ever made without a bottom speaker. Um, you lose out on obviously some battery life, but there are some battery tests that actually show it outperforming the regular iPhone 17, which is surprising. You lose out on the fast charging. It still uses the iPhone 16 era fast charging. You lose out on a lot of stuff with the iPhone Air. But i- if you're willing to deal with those sacrifices, it's a phone that feels unlike any iPhone or any phone really ever made. It's a really beautiful device, and so in terms of aesthetics, it's S tier, 1000%. In terms of aesthetics, it's a very easy S tier. But to get to those aesthetics, it has to make a lot of compromises. And so, because of that, I would put it in A tier. It's a great device. A lot of people love it. Um, but it's a device that is very much compromised and for good reason, to reach those aesthetics. But it, overall, I think the iPhone Air is a great looking device, just not a device for me and not the device for evidently a lot of people, but we'll have to see how these holiday sales numbers go out. And obviously, when the second gen model comes out in 2027, we'll see how that goes out. So there's that. Next up, iPhone 17 Pro. Well, actually, before that, we have two iPhone Air accessories. iPhone Air bumper. I like how we got the bumper case back on the iPhone. It's just a shame that's only for the iPhone Air, but I think that's the best candidate for a bumper case like this. So I'd say bumper case for iPhone Air is a B tier. Um, Nothing really too special about it. It's just great that we finally have a bumper case again from the iPhone 4, if you remember that. MagSafe battery for the iPhone Air. I think this one's a D tier because it's $100. $100 battery. It has same exact battery capacity as the iPhone Air itself. In fact, the same exact battery cell as the iPhone Air itself. Um, the cool thing about it is that since it's USB-C now, unlike the original MagSafe battery, you can actually use a USB-C cable to charge other devices without needing to, use MagSafe, which is cool. But $100 for a 3000 milliamp hour battery when you can buy something else that's universally compatible with iPhones for much cheaper. Yeah, it's not the greatest value. So that's why I guess D tier, in my opinion. So yeah, there's that. Now let's get to the iPhone 17 Pro. This was a very divisive iPhone design. When I was mocking it up on my concepts, when I was sharing all that stuff, everyone was conflicted about it, and everyone was also doubting that it would get an aluminum unibody. Sure enough, it did. Pat's new Wayne Ma. He was the first one to say that. But yeah, I like the design of the 17 Pro. The aluminum, the orange color looks great. Everything about the 17 Pro design I really like, but overall also the upgrades of the 17 Pro. Like you obviously have that 3000 nit display with the anti-reflective coating. You get the A19 Pro chip with the vapor chamber, so it's fully unlocked, absolute maximum potential. That A19 Pro chip basically matches or outperforms the M2 chip from the Mac, which was still being used up until just a few months ago, like in some Macs, like the M2 MacBook Air and the Apple Vision Pro. Like is a very powerful chip. So yeah, seeing all those upgrades and battery life improvements as well. The fact that they're actually utilizing the empty space from removing the SIM card slot now is a great device. So, and the triple 48 megapixels with the 8x zoom on the telephoto camera, the center stage camera, all the models this year is a great device. But compared to the value proposition of the 17, I think it gets an A tier. It's a great upgrade. Yeah, it's a great upgrade. But compared to the 17, which is $300 less and gives you basically almost the same experience, yeah, I think it's a great device, great upgrades, but 17 is just an unmatched value in my opinion. So yeah, Tech Woven. Tech Woven is obviously the successor to Fine Woven. People have been waiting for this for a long time, and people evidently love it. Tech Woven, unlike Fine Woven, it's much more durable. In fact, it's one of Apple's most durable cases now, which is ironic because Fine Woven was the least durable case that Apple made. So, seeing Tech Woven basically improve everything that went wrong with Fine Woven, I think it gets a B tier. It's great. So yeah, Tech Woven gets that. Crossbody strap, not the thing for me, in my opinion. It's a it's fine, it's better than the other accessory, our iPhone accessory that we have on this list, which we'll get into in a second. Um, but crossbody strap, not for me, and I don't really see many people using something like this. If you are, then that's fine. But I'll give it a C tier. All right, now time for the October releases, starting with the M5 MacBook Pro. The M5 MacBook Pro was a minor upgrade, but seeing the upgrades with the M5 chip with its neural accelerators and the GPU, which is a huge upgrade in the GPU department this year, seeing all those upgrades as a silicon nerd, seeing those upgrades are really cool. And seeing just the value of the M5 MacBook Pro, the 14-inch. It's not as good of a value as the MacBook Air, but it's still a great device, and so I think the M5 MacBook Pro is an A tier. Actually, it's a great device. So there's that. The M5 MacBook Pro. Next up, we have the M5 iPad Pro. The M5 iPad Pro, it had the M5 chip, it had more RAM on the base models at least. That M5 chip is, again, as we mentioned, it's a great update in the MacBook Pro. On the iPad Pro, it's not taken advantage of as much, even with iPadOS 26. As much as I love iPadOS 26, there is still some limitations with iPadOS at its very core being iOS based. And so that M5 chip is not being fully utilized to its full potential on the iPad Pro. So seeing all that, the iPad Pro, I think it's a B tier. It's not a bad upgrade. It's just not the best upgrade. So there's the iPad Pro. Now, time for the controversial one, Apple Vision Pro, the M5 version. Long, or should I say long awaited? Because, it's the first hardware upgrade to the Vision Pro since it came out back in February of 2024. It had the M2 chip, or excuse me, it removed the M2 chip in favor of the M5 chip, which enabled 120 hertz on the displays, which the M2 chip could not physically handle because of its slower display engine. And the M5 Vision Pro also added more battery life, so now it gets 2.5 hours of typical usage, 3 hours of 2D movie playback. Seeing those upgrades with the M5 version, it's good. It's a good overall. Like if you don't have a Vision Pro yet, then these upgrades are good. Here's the thing though: since the M5 version is out now, the M2 version has gotten significantly cheaper on the secondhand market. Now, yes, secondhand uh, devices, specifically devices that are on your face, and specifically devices that you have to get sized and things like that, it's a little bit sketchy. But if you're willing to go with the secondhand market, the Vision Pro M2 could be found as little as like the low thousands of dollars now, which is, in my opinion, seeing the experience that you have. And keep in mind, I like the Vision Pro a lot. The experience that I had when I tried it out in the store was unforgettable. Seeing the experience that you can get for like sub $1,500 now, by getting a secondhand M2 version. Kind of makes the M5 version for new Vision Pro users, that is, kind of the M5 version a little bit hard to justify. So, still, I like the experience of the Vision Pro, but I am gonna give it a C tier. So there's that. Now, I think the bigger upgrade than the Vision Pro itself was the dual neckband. And I think this actually goes in A tier because really, the dual neckband, from everything I've seen, fixes the second biggest problem with the Vision Pro, which is the comfortability of it. Like, if you're going to have this device on your head for upwards of 3 hours, with, that's how long the battery lasts on 2D movies at least. If you're gonna have it on like that, then you need to be very comfortable. And the original Vision Pro, with its solo neckband, was not really comfortable for many people. The dual neckband solves all of that. So yeah, fixes the second biggest problem of the Vision Pro. And if you can find a secondhand M2 version of the Vision Pro and you get a dual net band, now you've solved both problems of the Vision Pro. Actually, there is the third problem of the where does this fit in to, your ecosystem and things like that. That's, I guess, for you to figure out, or maybe for Apple to figure out. But the two biggest problems of Vision Pro could be solved now, which is good. So yeah, there's that. Slight progress, slight progress. Last and certainly least, iPhone Pocket, F tier, very easy F tier. Three upwards of $300 for a piece of fabric. Yeah, I don't think I need to explain that. So there's my tier list. That's my tier list. Yeah, that's my tier list of all the products. We got some very worthy S tiers, in my opinion: the MacBook Air and the iPhone 17. Some pretty solid A tiers with the Mac Studio, the the iPadOS and VisionOS, AirPods, iPhone Air, 17 Pro, the MacBook Pro, the dual band. I think those are worthy of A tier, in my opinion. The B tiers as well, C tiers as well, D tiers and the F tiers. um, but yeah, got to fill out every single tier this year. So now I'd like to hear what you guys think, but just know that you guys are wrong. So yeah, there you go. That's it. That's my tier list. And go ahead, download the tier list from Basic Apple Guy's website. He makes some great stuff, great wallpapers. Overall, great guy. So yeah, that's it. Thanks for watching. See you guys later. Bye.